Hi, my name is Devin. I work at Go Power Sports, and I'm going to be doing a technical walk around of the basic features of the machine. This is an Outlander 450 DPS. So Outlander 450cc DPS means it has power steering or dynamic power steering. I'll show you how to adjust that here in a minute. But I'm just going to start at the front of the machine and work my way back. A bunch of things you might want to know as an owner or a rider. So this machine does not come included with a winch. It would normally be mounted right here, but I'll make a separate video about those in case you have one added to your machine. Obviously you want to check for tire pressure before you go on a ride. Make sure you don't have any flat or leaky tires. The exact tire pressure is located in your user manual for that spec. For grease fittings, there are 4 per side on the front. They might be hard to see in the video, but we've got one right here, one right here, one back there, and one down here. And then your shock preload adjustment is right here. And then your radiator is located right here. You want to make sure mud doesn't build up on that, clog it, and prevent airflow from cooling your engine down. You have your belt drive case right here. There is a drain in case you get water in there. It is located right here. Your air intake is located up under this shield for both the engine and the belt drive system. So if you ever go through a puddle, way deeper than you expect, obviously, and it pulls water in, it'll feel like you hit neutral gear, and it won't want to accelerate. Winch yourself or be pulled out of the hole. You want to run the bike for approximately 10 minutes with that plug pulled out, revving it here and there, just in neutral, and that will remove all moisture from the belt case. As I said earlier, your air intakes are in here, your fuse box and coolant overflow is in there as well. If you want to get in there, you do have to remove 4 screws. They're plain as day right here. You'd be seeing them very easily if you're sitting on the bike. You have to pull that off, and then you can gain access to all that. These machines use all sealed electrical connectors, so it's unlikely you'll run into any sort of fuse issue, but it is in there if you need to. The wrench to get in there is in your toolkit. On the handlebars, we've got obviously your throttle. There's a throttle stop located on the back of this, so you can adjust the maximum throttle amount in case you have a younger person or an inexperienced person driving it. You have a 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive switch right here. When you flip that, it will show you on the screen whether you're in 2 or 4-wheel drive. You should be fully stopped or at least going very slowly before you switch that with no throttle whatsoever. So 5 kilometers or less or fully stopped, no throttle, and you can flip that. Here you have your gear shift lever, park, reverse, neutral, high, and low. Park prevents it from rolling. You want to do that if you're on a hill, of course. Reverse is obvious. Reverse is limited in both its speed and its power. If you want access to full speed and power in reverse, you have to hold this yellow button right here. It says rev or reverse override on it. It is a dual function switch though, so I'll get to the rest of that here in a moment. So that gives you access to full power in reverse. And you've got neutral, high gear, and low gear. High gear is for situations where you have more than 15 kilometers an hour maintained speed. So if you're crawling really slowly over rocks, you want to make sure you're in low range. Any other situation where you're able to travel at a decent clip, you want to use high range. There are lots of specific instances on, or special cases on those, just ask me directly. For your rest of your controls on your left-hand handlebar, your key is located just over on this side. It's just a simple on-off key. If your kill switch is to run, so that's not run, this is run. A single press of the start button will start the machine. You do not use that to shut the machine off. You'd rather use the kill switch to off position or flick your key to off. You've got your headlight switch, high, low beam, and off. It's fairly obvious. The second function for that yellow reverse override button is to adjust your power steering settings. So if you hold that for half a second with the machine running, it will display on the screen in the lower column DPS min, DPS medium, or DPS maximum. Those are your 3 power steering adjustments you can go to. They vary in use depending on if you're in snow or on dirt or driving aggressively or not, or if you have a bad shoulder or if you're fit. So use whatever makes you happy for that. There is a park brake as well. You have to squeeze the brake lever as well as a little lock arm up top. So you squeeze the brake lever, put your lock arm in place, and the park brake is set. Of course, if you're not using your bike and you don't want to run the battery down, you just flick the key to off. And over on this left side, just out of your view, there is a 12-volt accessory port, a cigarette lighter style port for you to use for cell phone chargers or what have you. Underneath the seat, there's a lever at the back that you pull up and back, and the seat comes off. There's a spot in the bottom of your seat for your user manual. The user manual is currently in there. I'll show you here in a minute. We install a trickle charger connector on every machine. We do not include the trickle charger itself, but if you have one at home, you'll be able to easily plug it in and charge your battery in the off season when it may be stored for some time, or if it's going to be in the extreme cold. You have your rear brake fluid reservoir here, your diagnostic port for us, the dealer, to plug into here, and then your air filter is located under this cover. It's very easy to open. You grab the little handle, pick up, and give it a wiggle and pull back. That pulls right off. Set that aside. Then your air filter is located in here. So counterclockwise turn, you'll hear a snap, and that cover pulls right off. This is your air filter. This is something that dust is primarily the only thing that gets to. In the dusty season, you might be able to fill this full of dust in a couple rides. In the off season, through the winter where everything's damp, there's not much dust, you might go all winter and not clog that. So keep an eye on it. If you keep the odor foam clean, the inner paper will last for a long time. The odor foam is cleaned with an air filter cleaning kit, which we sell here. And then you have to re-oil it for it to trap the dust to make sure that your inner expensive filter doesn't get filled. That just pushes back in. And if this face is flush with the mounting flange for the cap, the filter is properly inserted. With the Can-Am writing up, you'll see a little arrow at the top of the cap. You push that up against the unlock symbol here, turn until you feel a snap, and that's locked back in place. This just pushes in from the back, give it a little wiggle till you feel a click, and then push it back down into these posts there. And that's reinstalled, very easy. No reason not to check that very frequently to make sure your air filter's not clogged. The seat, this little notch here, grab this little bar here, and push in from the rear, give it a little punch and you'll feel that snap. I always like to push down on the lever to make sure that's fully locked. If you don't have that fully locked, your seat can dislodge and you might lose it on the highway or on a trailer during transport. Fuel goes in here. On the 450 model, it uses regular 87 unlimited or unleaded. The regular fuel at the gas station is all you really need to know. Down here you have your rear brake foot lever, nice and simple. You do have to depress that or the hand lever before you can shift it out of park. Keep that in mind. And then your oil dipstick is here. I always refer to the dipstick more of as a screw stick because you have to screw it all the way in to get the proper oil level. If you just dip it to the top of the threads like you would on a Honda or several other brands, it will read very low. So screw it all the way in to get the proper level. Got your rear storage area in here. Your user manual. It covers the break-in period. The break-in period for your belt is 50 kilometers. You want to make sure you're not in any high load, low speed operation while using high range. Make sure you use low range generously when you're in those first 50 kilometers. Make sure it's not slipping the belt, overheating it, and burning it, because then the belt will never be the same. So use the low range generously during those first 50 kilometers. Then for the 300 kilometers, the first 300 kilometers, you want to do no more than 3/4 throttle sustained. Make sure you don't overheat it by plugging the radiator with mud. Just keep an eye on things, make sure fluid levels stay up and whatnot. This is your toolkit. Includes basic stuff, pliers, spring preload adjuster, spark plug wrench, couple wrenches. Big thing in here is a low pressure tire pressure gauge that you can check these tires with. Automotive gauges frequently won't read low enough to give you the proper pressure reading. So that is in there, as well as your user manual. They do seal nice and tightly. They prevent most all dirt and water from getting in there, so keep that in mind. For the rear grease fittings, they're a little bit harder to see, but from the back of the machine, they're pretty easy to get to. You've got one on the side of that aluminum block up front there. Should be grease on it. And then there's one right here, and then one directly probably 4 inches below that. So 3 per side in addition to 1 on the drive shaft. Not sure if you can see my finger. I'm touching the grease nipple right now. It can be tricky to get to, but there are lots of YouTube videos to show you how to get in there and get to that grease fitting. But yeah, you got a pretty good view there. spring preload adjustment is just at the bottom of the spring as well. Does come with a rear hitch mount for you to put your own ball on. It just screws onto that, as well as your safety chains can hook in a couple different locations if they're located on your piece of equipment or trailer. For the gauge cluster, they are able to show a lot of different pieces of information which are very important. So firstly, you've got your gas gauge over here. This one is bone dry on fuel. We send a gas card with every new machine. See, it's giving me an alert, low fuel, as well as the low fuel light is on. Over here you have a temperature gauge. This machine is not warmed up at all, so it's showing off the charts low. That will fill up to about half as you approach operating temperature. This is your gear indicator. Right now we're in neutral. This is my current speed, 0 kilometers an hour. This is the odometer, 0.4 kilometers on this new machine. If you hit this top button, it changes what's on that upper display. So 0.4 kilometers, trip A is 0.3 kilometers. You reset that by clicking and holding on the button. You'll hear an audible beep to confirm that. Trip B, and this machine has 0.1 hours on it. And it's 347. The lower button changes on what's on this lower display. So right now the engine is at 0 RPM, obviously because it's off. Single press of that button will bring you to speed statistics. This bike has seen an average speed of 3 kilometers an hour, top speed of 88 kilometers an hour during our PDI checkover process. Engine temperature, which is 21 degrees Celsius. Battery voltage, 12.4. And settings. To get into settings, you click and hold. So I'm now in the settings menu. It is asking me if I want units, which is kilometers an hour or miles per hour, as you saw a switch there. Switch it back to kilometers. Reset statistics, that's your average speed or top speed in the other menu. That you can zero those out. Screen brightness, this is important because the screen is very bright at night. If I click and hold, I get into the brightness adjustment, and then single presses adjusts from -4 to +4. Usually 0 is the happy medium though. But at nighttime, you might find 0 too bright. Click and hold to pick, and then adjust your clock. That just adjusts the time up here. You can do both 12 and 24-hour clock. And exit, click and hold to get that. So again, there's a bunch of other warning messages which can pop up down here if you have some sort of mechanical trouble, as well as flashing things like low fuel or other issues in the digital readout. I've got, if you have any questions, again, my name is Devin. You can get a hold of me at 902-938-1016. Thank you.